Okay, so on your next quiz or test, you should be able to solve this in like 10 seconds. Okay, we've done enough practice with these. These are like just straightforward algebra questions. So Matthew, what's your hand up? Yeah, you can solve it for us. Oh. Yeah, so you want to move this to the other side because you want to solve for x. You want x by itself on one side. When you move it, it becomes plus 5. Good, because this is minus, it becomes plus. So after I move this, what's left on the left side? Just 3x. And then 7 plus the 5 gives you the 12. Now what? Yeah, divided by 3. The 3 goes on the bottom, so divided by 3. After I move that 3, what's left on the left side? Just x. So 12 divided by 3, I get 4, and that's my answer. How do I check if my answer is correct? Andre? Sub it back here. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 5, I do get 7. So, yep, it's correct. Okay, so if you see this question on the test, who thinks you can do it? Good. Okay, everybody should be able to do it. Let's do today's example. Example 1. So again, solve for x. 3x over 4 plus 2/3 equals 2. Okay, so what makes this question ugly? Yeah, fractions, right? So we have a fraction, but it's actually not too bad because all we have to do is one extra step. So find the lowest common denominator, and then 2, multiply it through. Okay, so in this case, what's my lowest common denominator here between 4 and 3? Tanya? 12. Yeah, so my second step, multiply it through, meaning I'm going to multiply everything by 12. So I'm just going to, okay. So I'm going to show this. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. 3x over 4 plus 2/3 equals that. Okay, so what I did was I just copied everything down and I'm going to multiply each of my terms by 12. All right, take a look to see what happens. 12 times 3x is 36x divided by 4. 36 divided by 4. Yeah. 9, right, good. Phew, 9x. Right, 12 times 3x is 36x divided by 4. You get 9x. 12 times 2, 24 divided by 3, 8. So plus 8 equal 12 times 2, 24. There you go. One step, no more fractions. And isn't this just exactly like this type of question now? Yeah. This question, all of you guys said you can solve it. So now with this, just after one step, everyone should be able to solve this. Right, Sabir? Yes. Okay, are you copying this down? I want to see your notes by the end of class. Okay, so now just like how we solved the previous one, move the 8 over by subtracting 8. So we get 9x equals 16, and then divide by the 9. Okay, so my final answer, x equals 16 over 9. Leave it as a fraction. Your math teacher always likes fractions more than decimals. Okay. So that wasn't so bad. Example 2. Okay. Similar question. Let's try this. Over 4. A half minus x over 4 equals 1/4. All right. So first off, what's my lowest common denominator here? There we go. 4, right? Between 2 and 4, my lowest is 4. So I'm gonna again multiply everything by 4. Right, so multiply this by 4, multiply this by 4, multiply this by 4. Okay, I wrote it like this because when we multiply, we only multiply to the numerator. So that's why I wrote it like that. Okay, so who can tell me the next step? Who can help me with the next step? Jennifer? 2, yep, 4 times 1 divided by 2 is 2. Minus x, because 4x divided by 4 is just 1x, or x, equals 1. Good. 4 times 1 divided by 4 is just 1. Okay. And then same thing. Yep. Why did I multiply it by 4? You want to multiply everything by your lowest common denominator. So between 2 and 4, your lowest is 4. Okay. And then here, I want to move that 2 over because it's positive 2. When I move it, it becomes minus 2. So what's my next line? Somebody tell me what to write for my next line. I moved this over. Yep. Good. Okay. Negative x. I didn't do anything with the negative x yet, so it's still negative x. Don't just drop it. Okay. And then negative x equals -1. Okay. And how do I move this negative to the other side? What am I doing to this negative? Yeah, I could simply make it positive. What is this number here? Yeah. -1. There's an invisible 1 right here. So in other words, you're doing divided by -1. And so -1 divided by -1, that's why, as the peer said, it gives you positive. Right? So technically, yeah, you could just change the sign on both, but you're not adding 1. So remember, change the sign because you're dividing by -1. That's the reason behind it, why you change the sign. Okay. Okay, let's do this one. Example 3. Example 3. -1 equals x over 5 plus x over 3. What's my lowest common denominator? Yep, 15. So I'm going to multiply it through everything by 15. So what's my next line going to look like? So I don't need to show that times 15 times 15 times 15 part, but so how would you write my next line? Isaac?
3x over -1 equals 3x over 15.
Right. So when you do, you get the 3 because you divided the 5. So 15 divided by 5 gave you that 3.
plus 5x.
Yeah, okay. What's Isaac's mistake? Isaac has a small mistake here, and this is a common mistake that people do. Yeah, so this you also have to multiply by 15. So this is actually negative 15. All right, multiply it through everything. So left side, right side, all the terms. Right. So when you said negative 1 equals, you forgot to multiply that by 15 as well. All right, so because you multiply everything by 15. Yep. All right. All right, so now what? We talked about this last time. Yeah? Oh. Not yet. Eventually, yeah, we can add 3 and 5 together. Why? Why can Vincent? Why can we add it? Same variable, like terms. These are like terms. 3x plus 5x. It was in the last chapter, remember? So I can actually group them together and make them 8x. Now I can do what Sapir said. What do I do with that 8? By dividing. So what's my final answer? Yep. Perfect. Good. Okay. Doesn't matter which side x is on. It could be on this side, it could be on this side, as long as x is by itself. Okay. How are we doing? All right. So remember, if it's like term, you can combine it together. Okay. 2 examples. This one is a little harder. Ugh, I just broke the page. Okay. This one, are you guys ready for a challenge? Maybe? Okay, we'll see. Actually, can I change this to 3? Sorry. Let's change this to a 3. Sorry. I hope you use pencil. Okay, so Superior, what's my first step? Because you asked the question earlier. By the lowest common denominator, in this case, it is going to be, okay, between 2 and 3, 6, right? Okay. So I'm going to multiply everything by 6. Multiply everything by 6, multiply everything by 6. Right, so okay. So again, I'm just following the format that I used in the last few examples, showing you like when I multiply everything by 6, this is what it looks like. Now, if you look at this right here, all right, that's why this was the a little bit more challenging. Okay, how can I simplify this? Miriam? Like expand the 6 to the x and put that to a -5. Right, but remember, the trick to multiplying everything through is because we want to get rid of the fraction. So let's try to get rid of the fraction first before we distribute. So what's 6 divided by 2? 3. So then I just have 3 and then keep my denominator like this. Right? So Miriam, you're right. I can distribute this, but then I still have the denominator. So the point of this was to get rid of our fractions. So let's get rid of our fraction first and then distribute after. Plus 6 times 1 is 6. And then what about here? 6 times 10 divided by 3. What does that simplify to? Yep, 20. And there you go. We got rid of the denominators. Right, so now we can do what Miriam said. Let's distribute. All right, so 3x minus 15 plus 6 equals 20. Right? What's my next step? Severe? Good. Just like what Vincent set up here, I could group these two like terms. I could group these two like terms because these are just numbers. So 3x minus 9 equals 20. All right, these two combines to that. Yep. Good. I plus 9. So it becomes 3x equals 29. And then divided by 3. So x equals 29 over 3. Okay. Okay, one last example. Any question on this one? Because this one is the tricky one. Any question on this? Okay, so the key to this one is make sure if it's in bracket, keep it in the bracket first. Don't drop the bracket too early. Only drop the bracket after you distribute. Okay, last example. Okay, negative 2 over 7, x minus 3 equals 1. Okay. What's my lowest common denominator here? Yeah, 7. Yeah, there's only one denominator. So yeah, I'm going to just multiply everything by 7. All right. I'll still write it out. So multiply this by 7, multiply this by 7. Negative 2, 7. Okay, let me 8. I'll do a square bracket. Equal that. Okay, so I put the square bracket because remember you're not doing 7 minus 2. So you're multiplying. So that's why I put it the square bracket to show that it's multiplication. What happens to the 7? Yep, cancels out. In other words, 7 times negative 2 divided by 7 is you're just left with negative 2 times that. And then 7 times 1, 7. Okay. Next step. There's the two options for your next step. What's one option for my next step? Distribute. Yeah, I like the distribute way. Right? The other option is inverse strategy. So I could divide the negative 2 over. But then I get back into the fraction, which I don't want. So I'll distribute first. So negative 2x, negative 2 times negative 3, you get positive 6. Yep. So move that 6 over to the other side by subtracting. So I get negative 2x equals 1. By not 3. Divide by negative 2. So what's my final answer? X equals? I like the 1 over 2. Negative. Right. When you divide, remember the sign stays. So you're dividing by negative 2. I could write it like this. Or I could write it like this. Or I could write it like this. All three means the same. All right. As long as it's negative a half, it doesn't matter where I put that negative. I could put it on the bottom, top, or side. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so this is just building on your algebra skills from last week. It does take practice. So for you guys to practice, we do have a good 40 minutes for you guys to practice these. Once you do more practice, it will make more sense. You'll be able to do it faster. Tomorrow we are gonna do the next step. Right, so you see how we're building on our algebra skills. So tomorrow we're gonna build a little more. Right, so I have this worksheet for you guys. 40 minutes to do one worksheet. Plenty of time. Okay, so these are just the regular algebra questions with fractions. And on the back are a few word problems with fractions. Okay, so what's for homework? What's for homework? All this. Yeah, okay. Front and back. Yes, there is a back side. So tomorrow, if I do homework check, there is a back side. Okay?